11:33 a.m. on June 16th, 2026. The sun is shining. The market's doing great. It's a good day.
It is a good day.
Another podcast episode. This is our 40th episode. We're moving through these. I feel like it was not that long ago we were on episode like 5.
Yeah, true. You usually ask me how I'm doing. Can I show you how I'm doing?
Yeah, I feel like that was getting old, so I didn't ask you that today.
There you go. That's how I'm doing. Where is that picture from? That's it. For those that are listening, it's me sitting there with a beer in the sun down the shore. You know,
it's
where
at a
that's
high-end establishment in South Jersey known as the Lazy Bass, where they have $100 plates and $30 beers. I'm just kidding. It's like $2 beers and $1 wings.
Love the Lazy Bass. Great place.
Great spot. Good music. Good views. I was there this weekend as well. Yeah, that's such a good time.
I look at that picture. I just feel happy. I can feel the sun on my shoulders, you know.
With the surfer shirt? Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, that's great.
Any clients want to meet us at the Lazy Bass, I'm pretty much always ready for that.
I went golfing this past Friday at Avalon Golf Club and then Lazy Bass after, which, I mean, those two together, that was just such a great day. I felt, so
It
lucky.
sounds like a Make-A-Wish day. You
Yeah,
know?
yeah, for sure.
That's what I would pick for my Make-A-Wish if I needed one.
Yeah.
And I'm not even a golfer. Just sounds like fun.
I feel like I have nothing personal really to share other than that, but I feel like I've been kicking us off lately, and I'll do it again today. I got this piece from Visual Capitalist, and I think it's really interesting. It basically, for those of you listening, breaks down how different generations, Gen Z, Millennials, Gen X, and Boomers, how they invest, whether it's buy and hold, growth investing, fractional shares investing, short-term trading, direct indexing. And this actually doesn't surprise me, but the younger generations, Gen Z and Millennials, it's a lot of short-term trading. And again, not surprising for the Boomers. It's a whole lot of buy and hold because, I mean, many of them have seen the effects of compounding over their lives.
Yeah. Yeah, well, when you're younger, you got more of a gambler's mentality, more of a risk taker, you know. I mean, nothing bad happens to me. I mean, generally when you're younger, and then you get older, you go through some experiences and things happen to you, and you go, ooh, I don't want that to happen again. So this short-term trading is very popular amongst Gen Z and millennials. This is my shocked face. It's also why 0 days to expiration options that expire in a handful of hours are so popular. It's, people getting on Robinhood and flipping 0 expiration options. Amazing.
Yep.
Yeah.
Exactly. Buy and hold still seems to be the bread and butter of a lot of these generations, but wild how short-term trading very popular with the younger generations. They must not care about capital gains taxes at all, or not know.
Or not know, and then
or
they
not
get
know
the tax bill. Yeah. Well, short-term trade. Show me this image and the percentage of Gen Z and millennials that are short-term trading after a tough bear market. I bet you it's a lot less if they're being honest.
Yeah.
Yeah. Is this a survey? It's a survey. Okay.
It's a survey. Share of U.S. investors currently using each investing strategy. The source is Charles Schwab Modern Wealth Survey 2024. So it's 2024 data, but somewhat recent.
I don't think it's changed much.
Yeah.
Yeah. If they're going to be honest on the next survey, if it's after a bear market, they would tell you, I'm not short-term trading like I was.
Yeah, exactly.
Because it's when you squeeze down the time horizon to a few days or weeks, it gets really hard. I got a finance hack, something. So I just bought a new car, and sorry everybody, my phone is ringing. I just bought a new car, and lately we've been buying cars from dealers or processes where it's no haggle. The price is the price. And some people tell me that's stupid. Other people say it's good. I don't know. But I just prefer it. But so if you're going into a dealership where you're going to, traditional dealership where most of them are, where the price is just that they've put on the car as the starting point. A lot of people say, I'm just going to pay cash because if I finance it, the rate's not going to be good. I'm lucky enough to have the cash. But when you walk into the dealership with cash, you feel like you hold all the cards. And what you've actually become is the easiest person in the entire car dealership to overcharge, because the second you say cash, you're kind of killing the dealer's biggest profit center, which is the a possibility of getting you to finance the car through them. So what they tend to do is make it back on price. You don't get much off that sticker price because they're not going to make anything on financing when you start with, well, I'm paying cash. So it's walking in and saying I'm paying cash right up front. It's like basically saying skip the sales tricks. I'll just overpay up front. So the kind of the move is to negotiate like a normal buyer, even take the dealer financing, get a better price off the sticker price if you can, and then once you've got the dealer financing set up, if you have the cash like you do in this scenario, then pay the loan off a week later. You're still not
Bit of a
dealing
longer process, but you save money in the long run.
exactly. Like if you're really looking for a way to get the upfront price down and yet not pay the financing interest rate over time, just go with that move. So much better.
Yeah,
So just an
exactly.
idea.
Seems like it's unnecessary, but it can save you money. I agree.
Yeah,
I agree. Let me
absolutely.
also just say, you and I are way too tan for it to not even be officially summer yet. This is insane. I'm just looking at this screen going, yeah. The white really brings it out too. I guess we're both wearing white shirts for those of you listening, but yeah, we're
Yeah.
probably a dermatologist might say this is not healthy.
This is not, it's all right. I don't care. I love being in the
uh,
sun.
oh, me
But
too. Me too. All right, I
but
got
you're
something
right.
interesting.
We are looking a little. Yeah,
Yeah.
I slept in a tanning bed for the last week, so it's my hack.
Something interesting here from the Financial Times. The top 10% of earners now account for nearly half of all consumer spending in this country. The bottom 80% are losing ground. That gap has been opening for decades and has accelerated sharply since 2020. Yeah, can't help but think that the rapid uh, money injection into the economy during 2020 and high inflation has definitely contributed to these numbers.
Yeah, interesting. So top 10% of earners are basically running the consumer spending, most of it. Um, yeah, I mean you're right. Initially, in the COVID era, when they shot all that free money into the economy, it was really a big boost, and you can see it on this chart to the you know the lower portion of earners, the people who make less money.
Eventually,
But
that money is going to trickle up to the wealthier end of society, and that's going to drive prices. Oh,
yes,
more money out there is going to drive prices up, which is going to have the bottom 80% spend less and the top 10% own more.
yeah, that free money in the COVID era was short term helpful for the bottom, 80%. But what it does longer term for the top 10% is it creates inflation, and inflation creates most of the time higher stock prices and higher real estate prices. And we saw exactly that. And the top 10% generally own well more in stocks and real estate than the bottom 80%. So sure, you push up stock and real estate prices, the top 10% own a lot of those things, and they just became a lot more wealthy because of that. So now they have more money to spend. So yeah, it makes sense. Makes a lot of sense.
And I mean, looking at this chart, I know it looks like a lot of time. It's not a lot of time. It's only about, 35 years, I guess. Um, yeah, 35 years. Uh, During times of lower inflation, I mean, correct me if I'm wrong, but during the mid 90s, it was the inverse. Bottom 80% accounted for much more consumer spending than the top 10%.
Yeah. Yeah, this is an issue our society's going to have to face, what everybody in our business calls the K-shaped economy. And you can kind of see the K, the letter K on in this graph. It's basically the idea that you can't have too much of a disparity. You always will have, but you can never have too much of a disparity for a sustained period of time between the haves and the have-nots. I mean, it's how you get revolution. So it's an issue, a little bit of an issue. So Keith, I know there hasn't been a lot of news about this. It's kind of flown under the radar. Have you heard of this SpaceX IPO? Have you heard about this?
I got one or two phone calls about it. I don't know. It really hasn't been something most people have been talking about. Yes, it's been everything anybody won't stop talking about.
All right. So you might have said this. Today's June 16th. So a few business days ago, last Friday, the SpaceX stock started trading publicly, and Jay Swift at Bloomberg wrote a piece about the wealth created for the employees of SpaceX. So I'll just read a tiny bit. SpaceX just created 4,400 millionaires in a single day. 400 of them are now worth over $100 million. These aren't venture capitalists. These are SpaceX employees, and the list includes welders, technicians, and cafeteria staff. Because for 2 decades, the company paid every level of the workforce in stock instead of progressively higher salaries. Juan Hernandez immigrated from Mexico and took a $28 an hour contracting welding job in 2015. He says he didn't even know what SpaceX was. The company gave him a $10,000 equity grant, so shares of SpaceX when it was private in 2015, and let him buy more shares through payroll deductions. The stake is now worth $880,000. This guy's a welder who took a job and now has $880,000 just from starting at SpaceX in 2015.
Wow.
Wild, huh? And here
Wow.
we have a picture of Juan Hernandez checking his phone for the price of SpaceX when it IPO'd. He looks happy, right?
Yeah, he's wiping his tears of joy with $100 bill. For those of you listening.
Yeah, he's crying and dabbing his tears with $100 bills. So he's doing pretty good, I think. Juan's doing
Yeah.
pretty good.
Yeah.
So the good news is
Now,
Juan can now finally afford to go get a Five Guys burger, right?
yeah.
Because nobody can do that, but
Uh,
SpaceX employees.
oh, they're delicious. No, I mean it makes sense. People are talking about it. It was a massive IPO. It was all over the news. The news wouldn't stop tossing it out there, but it quickly in the span of like 3 days last week became more important than the World Cup, the Stanley Cup, and the NBA Finals combined. It was really weird how it just became. People have never heard of an IPO in their life were talking about it, and
Yeah.
yeah,
So they
and
create. Oh, go ahead.
no, go ahead.
I get just a little more. So 4,400 millionaires created in a single day, employees of SpaceX. And I looked up, where's most of this wealth concentrated? Well, there are two spots. I mean, we always think Texas, and Texas is one. And it's not actually Austin. I kind of thought it was Austin, but it's Brownsville, Texas, which is very, very South Texas. And the other spot is Hawthorne, California, which is kind of near LA. And so that's where the engineers are in Southern California and Hawthorne, and the rocket builders are down in South Texas. And that's where most of this wealth was created over the 10, 15 years of SpaceX being built. Can you imagine, Keith, so you're a person with some money and you live in those areas and you say, I really want to buy a really nice house. Now you're competing with all those other SpaceX millionaires to buy a
Yeah,
house. That you're not getting the house. They're going to
no,
outbid you. Yeah, pretty mid. All right, that's all I had on that. I'll
good
speak
for them
every.
though. The people who put
Yeah,
in the time at that company, it goes public, and they get to cash out.
yeah,
That's
I'm happy. I mean, we just talked about the disparity between the haves and the have-nots, and I love hearing that there are a lot of people that maybe would have or had been what we might think of as have-nots. This is succeeding, doing
yep.
well.
No, they're not anymore. Now they're have-beens. um, I was going to save this for later, but I'll piggyback off your SpaceX comment real fast. I had a lot of questions about what do IPOs usually do historically after they go public, and I know the whole past performance is no guarantee of future results, but usually a lot of IPOs, so like we talked about on last week's podcast, we mentioned how for the first couple of weeks they do what SpaceX is doing right now, and it does incredibly well. The stock does incredibly well. And then usually doesn't always have to be the case, but for many IPOs and especially in recent years, they kind of flounder or they're a little bit down or they slide over the next few months after that. And I found this chart from Bolello, and I think that it's really symbolic of exactly that. Um, Showing the IPO
Oh,
ETF. So
great charts.
in orange, in orange you have the IPO ETF, which solely focuses on um, companies going public, and then above that, vastly outperforming it over the last 10 years, probably longer. You have the S&P 500, and then above that you have the Nasdaq 100, just trouncing it. So I mean, I look at this chart and I say there's so many people that wanted to get in early on SpaceX and say, "Oh, I got in early. I want to, I can take advantage of this." It's not. always usually the winning option.
Yeah.
As
Sometimes it is.
this sometimes it is, but not always, as this chart clearly shows.
Yeah, because a broad-based basket of IPO stocks has trailed the regular old stock market, and of course the tech-heavy Nasdaq. Yeah, 188% over the last, what is it, about 12 years or so for the IPOs, and but 444% for the S&P 500, 927% for the Nasdaq. That's amazing.
Yeah.
Amazing.
Yep.
Yeah, good point. I remember Google defied that. Google launched and just kept going higher and never looked back. I mean, had periods of drawdowns, of course, but generally didn't look back. Facebook lost like 40% in the first year. I mean, I think it ended the first year down 30 something percent in change. If you were a Facebook IPO buyer, you really had your nerves tested for in that first year. Um, all right, so I got this. This is pretty cool from the monthly review. So this is an image showing the makeup of the stock market in the year 1900 and the year 2025. Did you
We
see this?
covered something similar to this, I think, about a year ago on an episode, but
Did we?
we didn't
Okay.
have video at the time. And
Oh,
I love charts like this. I think it's so cool.
yeah. It's kind of so basically it's saying that in the year 1900, roughly 80% of the U.S. stock market value came from industries like railroads, coal, steel, and textiles. I mean, it was mostly railroads. You look at this chart. Then they had some banks too, but it was basically in the 1900s. If you bought a diversified portfolio of stocks, what you owned mostly were railroads. And then it shows today, or really 2025, about 70% of the market doesn't comes from industries that were tiny or didn't exist at all 125 years ago. I mean, 70% of the market now comes from technology, healthcare, retail, industrials, broader industrials, and it's really, really fascinating to see. Um, you know, it's basically, one of the great lessons or takeaways from this chart is the stock market is constantly renewing itself. The future winners rarely look like past winners. I mean, it's so easy to hold on to, well, this stock's been here forever and it's always done okay. And then I look at, after I pulled up this chart, I pulled up some examples, of yesterday's blue chips that are kind of today's, why do I still own this? So like AT&T, it's about $23 a share. 20 years ago in 2006, where was it? $23 a share. It's 20 years of time. Sure, it pays dividends, but it's done virtually nothing in share price for 20 years. Ford, Ford still sells a lot of cars and trucks. It was $14 a share 20 years ago, and today it's $14 a share. Kraft Heinz. I mean, Kraft Heinz, right? Big company, great company. It was $24. It's $24 a share now, right around there. And 20 years ago, it was $50 a share. So a lot of times it's uncomfortable to see that, for example, technology makes up so much of the stock market. It makes some people nervous. There's a reason for that. The market's constantly renewing itself.
And going back to the first chart there in the 1900s, it makes sense that rail was such a big part of the market, because 1900 we were trying to focus on connecting America coast to coast, and having this web of a rail system for business, transportation, leisure. It was incredibly important, just like technology is today. It is really cool to see how the importance of these industries shifts over the decades. It makes you wonder, in 50 years, what's going to be the most important industry? Because
Yeah.
I'm sure back in 1900 they wouldn't even know what tech was back then. But you
No,
know,
but
they
and
probably would have thought nothing's going to beat rail. Rail's the place to be.
and someone smarter than me made this parallel, but it's a great parallel that sticks with me. In 1900, the railroad industry was moving things and people around, and it was transporting stuff that was important to transport around at the time. Well, now technology is the biggest sector, but technology, a large portion of this is semiconductor stocks, and those stocks are the backbone of transporting information. You can't transport information, which is really such a valuable commodity these days, without tech. And so it's still transportation. Just back then it was railroads, and today it's technology. It's just
Yeah.
transporting something different. Instead of goods or people, it's information.
Yep. It is kind of funny to see the essentially just the renaming of some of these industries, like iron, coal, and steel. Come on, that's energy right now. No, am I
No,
energy and utilities kind of?
no, you're right. And
And
you're right.
you know, banks were the second biggest industry in the 1900. Banks still hanging in strong today too, but they also had to slice off and add financial services in there, which I know are
Right.
two different industries technically, but come on.
No,
If
you're
you, it'd
right.
be funny if you showed this chart to somebody in the 1900s. They'd go, what are half of these? Wait, isn't that the same thing as that? You know,
Yeah.
they'd probably also say, what happened to tobacco?
Yeah. No, you're right. Well, you look at the 1900 one, there isn't even a sleeve for technology. It's what would have been thrown in the other. And
Well,
what would be in there? The
what
tele
were they developing for technology back then? I mean,
I guess I was actually just going to say telegraph, but that's got its own sleeve in
that
1900,
was
the
the most tech
telegraph.
they had back then. Yeah,
That's amazing. We're very lucky to live in the time we live in for so
yeah,
many
we are.
reasons. Yeah.
All right, I'm shifting it to real estate. These are current numbers. So the basically showing for those of you listening, it's from Redfin. It's showing a list of the top cities in the U.S. by which the percentage of sellers vastly outnumber the number of buyers of home buyers. So retail, you know, residential real estate. So for example, in Miami, Florida, the top one, it's a definitely a buyer's market with the home sellers in Miami outnumbering the buyers by 147.9%. Um, Nashville, Tennessee at number two, with the sellers outnumbering buyers by 119%. And then Austin, Texas at three, with the sellers outnumbering the buyers at 112.1%. And the list goes on from there. It's funny, a lot of these places are down south. There seems to be a shift in the COVID migration south that we had a few years ago.
Yeah, that's all this
But
is.
yeah, that's really what this is. But if you can work from anywhere and you like warm weather and you're looking for a house, Miami, Nashville, and Austin seem to be the top three.
Yeah, you got if you're a buyer, you got a lot of leverage. Yeah, this is just a snapback. You mean COVID? People said I'm out of here, leaving whatever I'm leaving up north or wherever, and go down south. And now it's like, oh, maybe I changed my mind, or maybe I bought an extra rental property I didn't want, or whatever. So yeah, you're just there's an equilibrium in all markets: real estate, stocks, bonds, commodities, whatever. And you're seeing the pendulum shift from having gone too far to the one side back to the other.
So something
And
I'm just noticing now, and tying this back to another podcast episode we had recently. I wish I had this chart on me right now, but on this list, the states you have are Florida, Tennessee, Texas, Nevada, North Carolina, and Arizona. South Carolina is not on this list, and they definitely had a huge COVID migration. And I think if you remember, I showed you a chart a few weeks ago on a podcast where it shows South Carolina as still having, I think it was a massive population of remote workers or something, or buyers. No one's leaving South Carolina essentially. People, and I hear it from clients and friends, people love South Carolina. They can't get enough of it. I've
yeah,
been there, it's beautiful, but I don't know what's going on down there that's making people never want to leave when everyone's
yeah,
leaving these
actually,
other southern states.
it's a very accurate observation. I mean, we're going off anecdotal, but it's also data wise not even showing up here. You're right. Yeah, people love South Carolina. Yeah, you're right.
Just
That's pretty
something I
cool.
noticed.
Hey, just a quote I saw: Scottie Pippen, former NBA player, Chicago Bulls. Um, he said, I usually don't get too into these quotes, but he said, nobody teaches you that discipline feels like punishment until the results start feeling like freedom. Did I tell you that quote before? I
You
can't
told me
remember.
that the other day. Yeah.
Yeah, okay, I forgot. As I'm saying it, I'm going, I think I told Keith this already. Anyway, that just really resonated with me. Discipline feels like punishment until the results start feeling like freedom.
Yeah.
And I just think that applies whether you're raising kids that you hope to become great adults, exercise and diet, career, or starting a business, the discipline it takes to do all those things. It really, trust me, 6, 7 years ago, I decided to not be as out of shape as I was, and it felt like punishment when I started eating differently and exercising more religiously. So,
Yeah.
but
You
it
know,
does
I,
lead to freedom.
I
So,
got to take that quote with me as I train for the marathon over these next few months.
you've been doing a heck of a job training for that.
I've been trying. Uh, Mind if I share
Wait,
something else? I
yeah,
have a
go
few
with
more
what you got.
pieces.
Yeah.
Waymo. Got to talk about Waymo again. This is actually from Waymo. More specifically, Prof G put it out. But compared with human drivers, Waymo vehicles have 82% fewer injury causing crashes, 92% fewer crashes involving injured pedestrians, and 85% fewer crashes involving injured cyclists. Last year, car accidents were the leading cause of death for Americans ages 5 to 29. In an entirely Waymoed world, more than 33,000 lives would be saved annually. But without public buy in, none of this matters. So basically saying, listen, the critics of these self driving cars, like Waymo, for example, there's not a lot of ground to stand on because they seem to be doing better than the human drivers so far. I mean, I know they've had a few issues, but when you're looking at the hard data,
Yeah.
it technically, they're not wrong. It could save lives.
Yeah. This is a great chart. We've seen this kind of, and this is Waymo. It's not even the, which is a different technology than that Tesla uses. And even with Waymo, we're seeing that the data says it's safer to let the car drive and you supervise versus driving yourself. Like it says here, without public buy-in, none of this matters. I mean, it's tough, man, to get people to say, "Yeah, I trust this car to do better than I'll do,"
And I
and
get
I'll.
that because, I mean, money where my mouth is. I've never tried. I've been in a car that's self driving, but I've never been in the driver's seat of a self driving car that's self driving. So I'd imagine that first ride where you let it literally take the wheel is probably pretty terrifying.
Yeah, yeah, I agree. I
Yeah.
agree.
I'm
I
also a
love this.
control. I'm also a control freak, so that'd be harder for me. I feel like.
I wonder,
Uh,
I've been in a self-driving car just like you, but never driven, been behind the wheel while it's doing it. I wonder if like road rage drops if people mass adopt full self-driving because it's harder to be angry at someone when you're not the one having to really react to it. You know what I mean? I
or
wonder.
they could come out with a mode where the Waymos or the Teslas get mad at each other. You know, the robots start having road rage with each other, and the human drivers just watch.
Well, the machines are going to take over. It's Terminator.
Uh, the Terminators,
um,
yeah. Uh, oh, sorry. Go ahead. Do you have something else?
no, go. Yeah, well, I've got more. I've got more topics, but I didn't know if you had more in Waymo,
No, nothing
self-driving.
more on Waymo. I've got a few more topics, but
All right, let me show you this. So stocks have been doing well this year and last year and so on, and we've been really lucky, and it's great to see. So here's a big reason why. This is a chart from the Compound about blended earnings growth, and it's basically showing the 1 year earnings growth for different sectors in the stock market. And, all the way from the worst earnings growth, which is a minus 3.4% for healthcare, the healthcare sector, all the way up to the biggest, most positive earnings growth, which is, you wouldn't, nobody's surprised, it's for technology, and it's an earnings growth of 54.5%. And so these numbers are across the board. I know some sectors are weaker than others, but are really, really impressive. We're just not used to seeing companies grow their earnings this quickly. This chart also shows the blended earnings growth for the entire S&P 500 sitting at 29%. I mean, that is an eye-popping number. If you told us, hey, five years ago, you told us, hey, you're going to kind of get used to maybe for at least a little while 29% earnings growth year over year, we would have said, what is happening? How could that be? I would expect inflation to be 10 or 12% consistently to get that kind of earnings growth, but companies are doing it. It's really, really impressive. And just one add-on piece to this, a lot of people will justifiably said, and it did run through my mind too, they will justifiably say, well, hey, that chart shows technology is the biggest driver of earnings growth. It's all tech, and therefore it's very narrow. Well, the Compound also put out this chart. Margins outside technology continue trending higher. And so this is basically a chart of the S&P 500 profit margin, excluding technology. And it goes back to 2014. and we're around 9%, which is kind of a long-term norm. And now we're all the way up into the 12, 13% area for the non-technology stocks in the S&P 500 generating earnings. And it's really actually a broad-based earnings story across most of the sectors and not just tech.
It is, and I mean, we're focusing on the S&P 500 here, so big U.S. companies. The big U.S. companies, so many of them in different industries do so well, and they have such great earnings. I just think that we as Americans, as American investors, have gotten conditioned to the superheroes that the tech stocks are, and we like to think, oh, tech stocks are dominating; they're giving the other stocks no room to breathe, and it's like, no, they're doing exceptionally well, but so are other industries and companies,
Yep. Yeah.
other
Thankfully.
sectors. Yeah,
Yeah,
thankfully.
if they weren't, I'd be worried, but it's nice to see it broad.
Yeah.
Yep.
I've been hearing this a lot this year, really in the last few months, about how terrible the economy is and how horrible it is, and how this is. I've heard some people say, "Oh my gosh, this is worse than 2008," and I always wonder why, because I see all this data and stats, and it seems to be the opposite. I mean, the only thing I can think of is inflation, because inflation is still higher than the long term norm. Um,
It
but
is.
so just to try to prove some of you guys wrong, here's just one. I know there's so many data points and factors that go into measuring the health of the economy, but just pulling one out. Here's the U.S. labor market. Let me share my screen real fast. Here's the U.S. labor market, and this is from Creative Planning. There's been a dramatic turnaround in the U.S. labor market with 92,000 jobs per month added over the last 6 months. That's the strongest 6 month growth rate since February of 2025, and a 180-degree reversal from where things looked at the start of the year.
Wow.
I mean, again, I get it. Not everyone is
Getting a job, can find a job.
at the same point with money, with getting a job, with the labor market,
Yep.
with employment, with inflation. I get it, but looking at the this one piece of data that helps measure the health of the U.S. economy, looking at it just in a vacuum, the U.S. labor market, this is amazing. Like
Yeah.
this if you're just going off this does not indicate any reason for the economy to say the economy is doing bad right now.
Yeah. Yeah. Payrolls are good. I mean, in general, it's much easier to find a job than it was, say, 6 months ago.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's impressive.
Inflation and negative news are the only two things I can think of for why people are saying that right now.
News is too easy to come by and it poisons people's minds. It's a
Yeah.
shame because the news, if it bleeds, it leads. They'd rather scare you than help you.
Have you also been hearing that though? I've been hearing so much of, oh my, well, the economy is just so terrible right now, and
Yeah.
it's
Yeah, I've heard
is
it too.
is it
Inflation will
though?
do that. Inflation will do that,
Inflation
and
will do
inflation's
that,
been
but
sticky.
if you remove inflation, is it really doing that bad?
Yeah, I mean, yeah, individual circumstances, we're talking about on a broad basis. It's actually not doing badly at
Yeah.
all. But, you
Now,
know,
one more thing, just to talk about a little piece of inflation here. What you're seeing here
give me good news
is
on inflation.
what you're
Everybody
seeing
wants good
here
news.
is I think this is Ticketmaster. I forget where this is,
Oh,
but
this is not going to be good
the
news.
cheapest ticket to see the Knicks Spurs game. I think that, yeah, this was game three, so this was early June. So NBA Finals, Knicks versus Spurs at Madison Square Garden. This was early June, June 8th. Um, the cheapest ticket was $10,085.
Oh my gosh.
That is absolutely insane. Now I get it; it's New York, it's the NBA Finals, it's Madison Square Garden. There are celebrities there, but look at courtside, 60 grand, 61 grand.
If
And just so
yeah.
you know, this $10,000 ticket in the nosebleeds, here's the view from
Oh
that
my,
seat.
that's the view. Oh, that's amazing. You might as well watch it. That's crazy. I don't know. I shouldn't say that. If you're a Knicks fan and they're in
And
game
it's game
three,
three, so they're
oh,
not gonna win the whole thing in game three.
that
Were they? I
view
mean,
is
what were they
nuts.
up? What were they up? No, because I don't think they
No, they
were.
weren't up. They weren't up.
They
No,
weren't
they
up.
had to win. They had to win four
They had to
anyways,
win
but they
four
were up.
anyway.
I
Yeah, I was
think.
gonna say. What
Yeah,
am I saying? Yeah. So it's not even like you would have seen the championship that night. But
yeah.
that's
That view is brutal because I don't know about you, but I couldn't see the players from that vantage point. If you're in that seat and you paid 10 grand for it to be up that high, you want to be amongst your people if they win, and I can see that. I get it. I'm not. I wouldn't spend $10,000. But if you do, that's why you want to do it. You want to be around all your fellow fans to experience a win in the finals and get closer to something that hasn't been done in decades. You know.
And listen, I get that a lot of this too is probably season ticket holders trying to upsell their tickets because it's the first time the Knicks were in the finals in a while, and favored to win, and they're trying to really push it and sell these tickets at high prices. So some of these probably eventually came down as the game got closer, but still probably not by much. But listen, good for the Knicks season ticket holders profiting off this.
Yeah,
This
it is New
this
York.
is insane.
I
Yeah,
expect those numbers to be chunky.
yeah. Maybe
Yeah.
maybe one of the best teams to be a season ticket holder for, arguably.
Well, now
Yeah,
if you've been
not for
funding that
watching the
for years.
games, but for selling your tickets. I mean,
Yeah, true.
yeah.
All right, I got a piece from, of course, Charlie Bolello at Creative Planning because he's awesome. Um, and I'll just read it. Back in January, silver was up 64% on the year, and gold was up 25%. Last week, they both turned negative on the year. So, we right around just a little after the top, we wrote a market mail on how just be careful. Any asset that grows too much too soon can it can continue, but it can turn around pretty quickly. And that's what we saw in gold and silver. It kind of went from easy money in February of this year or January to kind of expensive education in 5 months. So yeah, pretty amazing turnaround on gold and silver over the last 4 or 5 months.
Yeah, you and I were at a dinner in January when silver and gold were spiking, and everyone kept at the dinner kept talking about buying more of it, and you and I were looking at each other like, "Ugh, I don't know how much higher it can go right now." And that, I mean, not to toot my own horn, but that kind of led me to write this market mail. You can find it on our websites from February. Yeah, it times out well.
There you
Can
go.
can you see that?
I see. Yeah, you crushed it with us.
Yeah.
February 6th.
February 6th, 2026. Just explaining how it is so highly priced during that time. And I mean, it's great that
Yeah.
people made money off it. It's just to think that that can continue is a little crazy.
Yeah, it's just the old Wall Street saying is trees don't grow to the sky. At
Yeah.
some point, it just stops. And it's okay because you did well, but, you know,
Yeah.
so interesting.
Yes,
If you
indeed.
got more, go ahead.
I don't. Do you?
I have nothing. I don't even have a recommendation this week because I'm still reading A Walk in the Woods by Bill Bryson about the hiking the Appalachian Trail. So I've got nothing new.
Yeah, I'm trying to think if I've watched any. I really haven't watched any shows lately. I've been traveling a lot, so you know, just listening to a whole lot of music. But um, we'll say the next time we do a podcast, it is the post triathlon. So
Oh, it
every end
is.
of June, Rick, Connor, and I, three members of our team, along with a few friends, run a sprint triathlon in Avalon, New Jersey. It's in little more than a quarter-mile ocean swim, 12-mile bike ride, all on flat ground, and then a 5K sand run on the beach at the end. So this is
Yeah.
my fifth year doing it. I think your fifth year as well.
Yeah, I think so.
Connor must be his eighth or ninth year, but
Yeah.
something we look forward to and don't look forward to every year. So hopefully
Keith,
we all make it. Hopefully we all make it back in one piece. And,
Yes.
and yeah,
Yeah,
good luck.
I am praying that the ocean is calm that day.
It
June
won't be.
28th, right?
It won't
I think
be.
it is.
Yeah, it's
ha-
June
every
27th.
27th. Every year that it's calm the day before, and we walk over the dune that morning, and it looks like a giant washing machine. And you're like, wow, I got to fight through the breakers and swim a quarter of a mile through that.
Do you want to hear how close June 27th is, the race day?
It's 11 days.
11 days. Yeah.
Yeah, I know. Actually, now I'm
I'm not
terrified.
ready.
I'm ending the podcast a little scared. It's good.
Yeah.
It's healthy fear, but I have the same feeling every year. Fear.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
it's good though. So
Yeah.
it'll be fine. You just gotta get through the swim. The rest of it's just be tough. That's all it is. That's all it is.
Just be tough, and it is fun when you finish it and you're like, oh, I don't have to do that for another 12 months.
I just hope this is so fatalistic. I just always think I hope the person who hired the Avalon Beach Patrol crew for this year did a good job. Because if they have to drag my rear end out of the ocean. I hope they know what they're doing and they get to me before I go under.
Yeah, yeah. Well, as always, thank you everybody for listening. Yeah, we'll see you next time. Enjoy your summer. Well, we'll be back before the end of summer, but keep enjoying your
Yeah,
summer is what I meant to say. So,
yeah, yeah.
bye everybody.
Bye, guys.
The Capital Clarity podcast is presented by FA's Keith Wagner, AA, MS, Financial Advisor, and Rick Wagner, CFP, Senior Vice President, Wealth Management. This podcast is for informational purposes only and is not intended to be taken as financial advice. All opinions expressed are of the hosts and do not necessarily represent those of Raymond James. Opinions are as of this date and are subject to change without notice. Investing involves risk, and you may incur a profit or loss regardless of strategy selected. Prior to making an investment decision, please consult with your financial advisor about your individual situation. 2003 South Easton Road, Suite 100, Doylestown, Pennsylvania 18901, 267-742-3455, Raymond James and Associates Inc., member New York Stock Exchange SIPC. The S&P 500 is an unmanaged index of 500 widely held stocks that is generally considered representative of the U.S. stock market. The Dow Jones Industrial Average, DJIA, commonly known as the Dow, is an index representing 30 stocks of companies maintained and reviewed by the editors of the Wall Street Journal. Inclusion of these indices is for illustrative purposes only. Keep in mind that individuals cannot invest directly in any index, and index performance does not include transactions, costs, or other fees which will affect actual investment performance. Past performance does not guarantee future results. 529 plans come with fees and expenses, and there is a risk they may lose money or underperform. Most states offer their own 529 programs, which may provide benefits exclusively for their residents. Please consider whether the state plan offers any tax or other benefits. Tax implications can vary significantly from state to state.